Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London, and today I'm looking at a book which comes to us from Oxford University Press. It's their Handbook series. This one's a very important book at this particular time. It's the Oxford Handbook of Islamic Law, this book here. We'll have a look at it in a minute. It's been edited by Anver, Emon and Rumee, Ahmed, and as I say, it comes to us from OUP. And I've given a title for the review, Fundamental Reference Material on All Aspects of Islamic Law. Excuse me, and that is exactly what you're getting with this work, because it's a very wide-ranging work. I'll explain that it's generally relevant probably more to North America than it is to the continent of Europe, but I do believe it has massive global appeal. Let's look at the book first of all. Very heavy book. There we go, hardback, front, spine, and then back. It just lists the people who've contributed at the back. Inside you've got, on the dust cover, you've got some blurb about the handbook series. They're difficult to read probably because of the colouring. And then you've got some information about the book and the authors there, the two professors. And the book itself, if I just show you, we'll start at the back. There's a very detailed index right at the back, which you can see. There's a heavy book. It runs to nearly 1,000 pages in total. The index is by page numbering. There's a lot of detail in the index, because the index actually is a substantial document in its own right. You can see it starts there, so it's a very substantial, and you can see the thickness of it. Then, of course, you've got bibliography at the back. There, a substantial amount of bibliography. It's called a Historiography of Islamic Family Law. That's what we've got actually at the back with that particular article, and that's the way it runs throughout each of the chapters. You've got the actual bibliography after the chapter itself, which is the way the handbooks normally run. There's the front page there, and then you can see the main front page section there, and then running through from that, the blurb from OUP, and then you can see the content section and how it's actually structured, with the names of the people running all the way through, the various different parts. I cannot go through the names of each of the contributors in turn in this short review, but you can see that a very large number of people have been involved, and there are a total number of 35 chapters. Then there's an introduction by the editors at the beginning. Then we get into the main work itself. I'm just opening it in the middle. You can see we've got footnoting, and you do have subheading, and sometimes it's numbered, but it's relatively easy to find information quite quickly. And obviously this book is very relevant, I think, for scholars of Islamic law, and I think to the wider population too, at a time when there's a lot of misinformation, if I can put it like that, about what Islamic law is about. The University of London, of which I'm a board member, has always been a pioneer of work in this area, apart from other legal and academic institutions in the United Kingdom. But this book is much wider because it comes really from North America. This is what we say anyway. The Oxford Handbook series from OUP have an established reputation with a standard of excellence unsurpassed throughout the academic and legal world. Indeed, for both academics and practitioners alike, we think they'll find this new work on Islamic law of fundamental importance in the 21st century, because it certainly has, I say this over 50 years of involvement with the legal world, that this is the first time we've had a very substantial interest in this area of law outside the normal students and scholars who would actually study it. So therefore I think this book is very important at this time. Obviously it's called the Oxford Handbook of Islamic Law, and it's been edited by two people, Anver, Emon and Rumee, Ahmed. And there's no exception to the lengthening list of Oxford handbooks to which this is now a part, because they have established themselves as a very high pedigree of legal handbook. And of course the purpose of this book is to introduce the reader to subject matter which many will have little detailed knowledge of, although they can be affected by it, and that's really why I think the book's worth looking at. I found it fascinating to read. It's highly relevant in my view to a wide range of readers as well, both lawyers and non-lawyers alike, consisting, as I say, of 5 main parts and 35 specific chapters by the contributors. And it's a title which provides a comprehensive survey of the contemporary study of Islamic law and a critical analysis of its deficiencies. It's been compiled and written, as I say, by 35, or actually I've said 36, but it's actually 35 outstanding senior and emerging scholars in their fields within the substantive law area. And we agree, of course, with the comment that it offers an innovative historiographical examination of the field of Islamic law. And of course, you do have to look at the background of history. They call it the backstory in America, which is unfortunate, but it is history, and that's what we're talking about. And of course, the conclusion is that it's an ideal introduction to key personalities and concepts in this legal area. And whilst capturing the state of contemporary Islamic legal thought and studies, it chronicles how far the field has come. The handbook also goes on to explain why certain debates appear to recur. Such an explanation, I think, is most useful, and of course it does indicate some of the fundamental gaps in our knowledge, especially for those who are relatively new to it. We found it refreshing also to see that each chapter gives what the editors called bold new adventures for research, because this is actually a research document as much as anything else, I think. Therefore, as a research tool, we think it will help readers appreciate the contested nature of key concepts and topics in Islamic law, and we would add that much of this area remains relatively unknown to many within the English jurisdiction, although of course the primary audience for this work, as I've stressed, is actually North America, and it's clearly set to be a major modern reference work for scholars and students of Islam and Islamic law for years to come. The 2 North American professors who I mentioned, the 2 editors here, I think are to be thanked for producing over 1,000 pages of really erudite scholarship, which will help those who regularly confront artificial limits imposed by the disciplinary formations of Islamic legal studies. Those are their words, and I think they're worth bearing in mind. Let me conclude then by saying that we're fortunate indeed to have this new work available to us, because the contributors focus on such studies because of the way it captures myriad Islamic legal fantasies. And I think that's an important thing to bear in mind, because there are problems in the formation of an understanding of what Islamic law is about. And they add, this is the contributors add, that some of which, these myriad Islamic legal fantasies, would be utterly humorous if it were not for the fact that they inform actual state policies that target the civil liberties of Muslims across the globe, and in this case particularly in North America. And I do think that that should be borne in mind, because this isn't a humorous subject at all. I mean, obviously they brought a bit of levity into it with that quote, but the reality is that we do need to have a better understanding of how the system operates. So thank you very much to all concerned for a most erudite piece of scholarship. The date of the book was, when it was released, was the 15th of August 2018. Here's the book again, the front, the spine, and then the back. If I just open it up in the middle, we're looking here, Islamic Law in Post-Revolutionary Iran. Very controversial, as I produced this review at the beginning of 2019. You see the structure, there's the body copy. There are a few little footnotes, but what you've got at the back is then the referencing material, which is where the scholarship comes. You can see that's just on Iran. It's very, very detailed indeed. Anyway, thank you to everybody concerned for this. I pay a high tribute to the Oxford Handbook series, and this is the latest edition, and it's very welcome indeed. Thank you to all. Bye-bye.